Welcome to another episode of DD on the Spot. As always, I'm your host, Ryan Johnson. And before we get into it with our guest here today, I'd like to remind everyone that if you enjoy this content, to please give a like and subscribe down below. I'd greatly appreciate it. We have Seda on the podcast. She's coming to us all the way from Florida, where, good God, the weather, it just looks, even looking outside of your window a little bit, I can just see how much nicer it is than it is here. So at least maybe the warm will drift into my screen or do something. I don't know, because it's just freezing cold up here. But yeah, she's on here to share her health and fitness journey and discuss all things health and fitness. But most importantly, she's our current guest. Thank you so much for coming on.
Thank you so much for having me. I appreciate it.
Absolutely. Well, I normally ask about what the weather's like, but I'm not even going to do that because that's just ridiculous, because it's just going to
I'm
make me.
sending you some sun.
Hopefully. I don't know. We'll see.
Warmth, I promise.
Hopefully it gets here. But to get things started, why don't you just first off give us your backstory on what inspired and motivated you to get in shape and how that led to where you're at right now?
Well, I'm currently 32 years old, and I actually was always into fitness. My first gym that I went to was Gold's Gym, and I was 14 at the time. So I joined there with my brother because they had this, like you had to join with someone, I think, because you're underage or something. But anyway, so I joined and I would actually go with him, and I just didn't know what I'm doing at all. And he would just tell me to do cardio and sit on the lead cool downs, and I would just be doing lead cool downs for like hours with different grip variations. But yeah, that's how I started. And then when I was around 18, I started having bodybuilder friends who competed, and it really interested me. So I had one of my friends who is actually like well-known bodybuilder right now too. He helped me to get ready for my first show. At the time, I was a bikini competitor, and I was in my early 20s when I did it. So my very first competition, I chose one of the biggest competitions at that time, which was NPC Siren States here in Florida. And obviously, I didn't place well. You know, he wasn't even here, like locally, so it was all online coaching, and he was still new to coaching, and I was a new athlete. But I did the competition and kind of like got hooked. And then I did another one. At that time, I had a different coach who helped me, and I came in conditioned, more leaner. But I've never wanted to do bikini to begin with. So the coach that I went to who helped me with my bikini show, I said I want to do figure, and he convinced me to like stick with bikini because it's more feminine and all that kind of stuff. And at that time, I was young and just couldn't say no, or I guess stand up for myself for what I want to do. So I said, okay, but bikini posing was never me, so I could never really get into it. So I did place, I don't remember how I placed, honestly, fourth or fifth at a show. And then when I asked the judges' feedback, it was more, you know, your posing was kind of off. And then you have a back for like a big figure competitor. Your back is too conditioned. And my background is dance. In Armenia, I did ballet and traditional dance growing up. So I have a strong back foundation, I think, because of that.
I was going to say doing those lat pull downs all the time too is probably one of the reasons why as well.
Yeah, that's like two together. You know, now I'm like, ooh, it makes sense. And at that time, I was upset about it or whatever. But hey, you know, like it worked. So, but yeah, so after that, and then after that, that was my last competition, unfortunately, due to making the wrong decisions in life and not being in alignment with my passion, and you know, just being around people who told me not to compete, and I kind of like listened to them. So I went about 5 years or 6 years, I can't remember, but not competing, and it was just not even being able to work out that much, honestly. And then that was just really a bad period of my life, like a very dark period. And I just wasn't happy because obviously, due to not doing what I want to do. So then it was in the beginning of the pandemic when, we had all this time to really think. And, I had this light bulb moment and I decided to just compete. Um, and I took that chance. Um, I had a friend who helped me, who competes and coaches on the side, but not really like a coach, but he helped me prep for my first show coming back as a figure. At this time, I was already, doing my work, my healing, just asking myself for what I want to do. And no one at this point would convince me not to do figure. I knew figure is what I want to do. So I've decided to come back just in figure at the time. So I started my prep around the pandemic. Um, I was fortunate enough to, like have gyms that I still could go. They would let only 5 people at a time or something to go work out. It was very difficult to find chicken. I had to get up. I had to get up at 5 a.m. to go to stores to buy my chicken. But, no regrets. So that's when I started like truly being, myself again and start feeling better slowly. That was my first show back. I placed last in my class, which, you know, um, to me, honestly, it didn't matter because I was just happy to be doing the prep and being able to be on stage because I never thought that I would have that chance again. I thought like bodybuilding was just that for me. And, so just being able to do that. And then right after that, I've decided that I'm just going to do another show. So after that, it's been all shows ever since for 3 years. I've been on prep for 3 years in a row. Just loving every minute of it. For me, when it comes to competitions, it's more about the prep part of it than the show days. Like I need like a routine. I need to eat the same thing every day. I need to do the same thing every day at the same time. So if I don't have that, I'm not basically functioning right. So then my friend, he told me that, who was helping me my first show back after the pandemic, he told me that he sees all this potential in me and he knows how great I can be. So he suggested that I look for a different coach who can help me better. So I went to another coach, and that coach, like I don't really like talking bad about anybody, but so he was. I don't want to get into it, but basically was just not the right coach. So we did one show with him. I did better. I got the second placing, but it was a different competition. I still didn't look my best. And one of the things I tell him, tell you about him is he was just making me do 80 minutes of fasted cardio on the Stairmaster on level 12 to 13, plus 60 minutes after the workout. So kind of ripped all my muscle off. And then from there, I did one show with him, got connected to another coach. And again was not the right coach for me. So 12 weeks out of a show, he wanted me to do things that I wasn't okay with, like just supplement wise. So 12 weeks out of that show, I basically had to leave him and I went with the coach who I work currently with. So when I went to that coach, I was 12 weeks out and I told him that I'm 12 weeks out. I want to do Atlantic Coast and then I want to do Nationals. My coach said, well, guess what? You are not ready for it. You are behind. Well, guess what? Seda is very stubborn. So I was like, I'm going
Oh
to
no,
do.
a stubborn bodybuilder? I've never heard of that before.
So I was like, guess what? I'm going to do it no matter what. And kind of explain to him that this is more for me than just being behind or doing well. It's like, this is what I need to be doing. And I wanted to experience also the national stage because, you need to get experience at different levels. Like it takes time. It's bodybuilding. It's not like an overnight thing. It's a journey. It's a process. So he agreed. And to be honest, he did magic with my body. I mean, I looked amazing and did very well. Um, I don't remember, I think second place at Atlantic Coast. And then at Nationals, I got the 11th place out of 13 or 14 girls. So not so good, but again, it's the experience that matters for me. At the end of the day, like bodybuilding, like for me is more than just that show and the trophies and whatever. Like even if there were no judges there, nothing, I would prep a year and just go and do it. So that's how I kind of look at it. And then we started, so we knew what we needed to do because now I had the right coach and he's still my coach. I'm very, very, very happy with him. He's actually um, the Masters Olympian of 2003. So he has a lot of experience. His experience really shows on everything. He said, let's do nationals again next year. And basically we did the same shows again. So for Atlantic Coast, I took the overall title, which was really great. I looked amazing, super happy with the package. And then we went to nationals. At nationals, I came one place from getting my pro card. I got the third place out of 11 girls. So it's a huge difference from going, from 11th place to the third place at a national show. Super happy, even though I didn't get my pro card. I mean, it's still a big accomplishment. And then right now we are just, doing what we need to do a show in June, which is in Jersey, and that's Universe. So we are just prepping for that.
One thing I've noticed, because I've been, scrolling through your Instagram, obviously, before I had you on, is that, like, you've put on so much size, especially this last year, and like brought such a better package. What would you say is the biggest difference? Was it training? Was it nutrition? Or was it a mixture of both? How did you achieve such a better look this year?
I just think it's all of the above. It's just having the right coach, It's it's having the right coach, but it's also being consistent. It's like doing what your coach is telling you because I feel like what happens with a lot of people, they kind of do maybe 80% what their coach tells them and they kind of like not do the 20%. I'm like, give me a plan and I'm going to follow that to the T so I think that's very important, but it's also very important to have a coach who knows, and it takes time. Like it took time for him to learn my body. Every show we got better. But I just feel like a lot of people are just coaches right now, so it makes it very difficult to pick that right coach. I just feel like it's all connected. It's all the training splits, how you do. I'm training every body part twice a week, so my legs have been an issue for a while and now they're not because I've been training legs for 3 years straight, 3 times a week. So I've been training 6 times a week for 3 years straight, so I just feel that it just takes consistency and it's a slow process. And then at the end, it all kind of adds up.
Well, I mean, they're popping on the screen in the gym room. He's got to ask, what do you do for shoulders? Because God, even me as a as a guy, I'm like, okay, what does she do for shoulders? This is ridiculous.
Well, shoulders, again, I do it twice a week. And I think for growth, like that works really good is when you are hitting that body part that you are lacking or you want more twice a week.
Yeah. No, that's. I mean, I have done that myself too. Where yeah, it's usually on like I might do one on Monday and then I might do it again on a Thursday or Friday. You do got to do it more than once because I've had so many people, especially with lower body, you talk about like, oh, I want to grow lower body. And it's like, well, you're training them once a week. That's you might want to up it up a little bit. But I also love to talk genetics because everyone always has that one body part that really, really takes off that don't have to train as much. And we know that that was back for you. That's also back for me. But what's been one body part that you've just had to drag behind since you got started? Because for me, it's legs and my whole entire lower body. We're not going to get into that. I'm 6'3". It's a whole problem. It's going to make
Wow,
me.
you're tall.
That's the thing. So I went to one of these shows. I went to my first bodybuilding show like last summer, and I was the tallest person there by far. It was pretty hilarious. Like meeting some of the guests that I had, and then they're like 5 feet taller, like 5'2", and then I'm just like super tall. So that's my excuse, at least, why my legs aren't that good. But what was one body part that really you struggled with that you've had to sort of grow?
My legs.
Yeah.
Um, my legs were an issue, but it was mostly an issue because, like, we no coach. Like, my other coaches told me it's genetics. You just don't have good legs. My current coach says you have great legs. It just that's where you hold the most fat. So he just gave me the right diet, the right exercise split, and it's like literally did magic for my legs. Now I do like have really good legs, and it was all just like little, like eating more broccoli or something. So
This is also so much more of a mental sport though than a physical sport, and as much as people might say, like, oh my god, you look amazing, you look great, people just don't understand that mental change, I don't think, that takes place, which is 100 times more important than any of the physical changes. What has this journey been like for you mentally?
well, mentally, it's only making me stronger, and I do agree that it's a mental sport. A lot of it's more mental than physical. It's what you tell yourself, and I feel like if you are mentally like struggling, it can be really damaging if you get into bodybuilding. So I just feel like first of all, you have to kind of build a strong mental foundation, then work to bodybuilding will strain that. But if you are mentally struggling, you should definitely take care of that first before you get into bodybuilding because mentally it cannot be good for you. And unfortunately, I know many people and friends who it affects mentally in a bad way because they are just not mentally ready for that prep part.
What was your friends and family's reaction like when you got started in this journey, and has it changed over time? Because I always find it fascinating how the significant other people in your life react to this.
Yeah, well, my family never really supported it since when I started the bikini journey. And, they told me, I mean, they're Armenian. We are Armenian. I'm Armenian. So they just kind of never really supported it. But I still did it. And right now they are more supportive and they just know that they just saw when I had a very dark period for about 6 years. They just saw how I was just surviving and how miserable I was. So then them seeing me that I'm happy again, they have no choice but to be supportive and know that this is what I'm meant to do. And when it comes to friends, I had to let go of relationships, and I had relationships where they didn't let me compete, and I was okay with that at the moment, and that kind of just, ruined me in many ways. So I'm at a point where there is no family member, there is no soul that can tell me not to do this because, like, I'll cut everybody out before I cut bodybuilding because I strongly believe that this is what I'm here to do.
Yeah. Absolutely, and that's great. And a lot of people, yeah, and it's great to also hear like how families can evolve over time with their opinions. We're like, yeah, they're more accepting of it because that's always great to hear because I've always said the more supportive your significant others are, the easier it makes your journey as well because it takes a little bit of a load off, which is always great. But this is the funniest thing. So obviously being a bodybuilder, you have mirrors behind you. How often a day do you spend in front of mirrors? Because with bodybuilders, sometimes I've been in gyms where I might see a guy in front of a mirror for like an hour, and I'm just like, okay, that's hilarious.
No, I don't do that. I
Okay.
mean, at the gym, like I'll just if I have to take a picture or something, I do my check-ins every Sunday. So that's when I go on a scale. I'm not obsessed where every day I go on a scale or something. I do my check-ins every Sunday. Even though I'm far out from a show, I like to do it every Sunday. This way I hold myself accountable, and I have this crazy thing that I always think and have nightmares that I'm going to forget how to pose. So it makes me like, I'm just like, okay, I still know how to pose. But I use my mirrors for, like those reasons. I'm more into, like, I like to read and write and do other things too. So it's not just like looking myself in the mirrors. At the gym, I'm like, when I have a pump, obviously I like take a picture
Of
for
course.
my story. But I just use the mirrors here when um, I need to pose, which is I try to do once a week my routine. So I do that and I record that, and I try actually not to look myself in the mirror because I want to see if I can do it without a mirror. And then just whenever I need to take a check-in picture or something, but muscles are great, but it's just not like, I'm happy to have them, but I just definitely don't look at myself every hour and admire it.
Trust me, we have some people on this podcast where I think their entire house is just one big mirror, and then they're just constantly doing. I've met a handful of them too, but I'm glad to hear that you aren't, because yeah, you're the vast majority. But there are some of them where I'm like, dude, do you ever like spend time like actually doing something other than that? But it's great that you have other hobbies as well. But on top of that, when you look the way that you look, I mean, it draws people's attention just because it's not something that's of the normal. Has it gotten easier for you to deal with the fact that like you are going to get more people's attention just based on the way you look, or is it still something that you're just like, okay, this is really weird?
No, it's not weird. I mean, I'm just used to it. I get compliments all the time. If I tell you compliments make me feel great, like they just make me feel like I know how I look. I love my muscles, but I also know I can lose this like any day. So I just look at it that way. So it's special to me, but yet there are other things that are special. So the compliments are great, and sometimes it does get overwhelming. I'm I'm basically used to it, but like I said, sometimes just growing my following grew too, and I have new people telling me how great you look. Sometimes I'm like, damn, guys, all you do is look at me and say, wow, she's beautiful with muscles. Like, that's all you see, but people are just going to see what's on the surface, and that's normal. I mean, I'm working hard, so people are allowed to look. Um, and compliment me. I appreciate the compliments. But if I tell you, I'm a big, like, just give me compliments all day, or I go out
Tell me
without,
I'm pretty, basically.
like, honestly, I don't, like, I love bodybuilding, but if I tell you I follow many bodybuilders and I like going to shows, that would be a lie, because I only go to shows if I'm going to compete. Because to me, it's like my own kind of art, and I don't, a lot of people, like, I look at it and I'm like, wow, they're great, and I appreciate every bodybuilder's art out there. But for me, this is my own sport and my own art, and it's me versus me. I just do it so I can compare my pictures from show to show and say, wow, this is what I accomplished. Now let's close this book and work on another look. So my most important time is just the prep and being at the gym.
I mean, I agree with you 100%. I went to that one bodybuilding show just to meet some people that I had on the podcast and just say hi. And they're too expensive, honestly, for me. So I'll be going to one maybe later when I can, when it's maybe a little bit less pricey. But you actually brought up the exact reason why I started to have bodybuilders on the podcast, and now I have them. They're probably like half the guests that I have on, because it's hard for so many people to look past the look, really, and get to know the actual person. That's why I like to have them come on and share their story and just make people realize, hey, they're actual people too. They're not just a they're not just a body, basically, which is what a lot of people, I think, equate it to, which is why I like having them on, because I just like to show people, like, hey, these are more than just the way that they look. They're people that have goals, hopes, dreams, and everything. So
Right.
yeah, absolutely. But
Especially being a female bodybuilder,
it's 100 times worse, yeah, than the males. Absolutely, yeah. Yeah, it's absolutely ridiculous. There have been times where I've wanted to burn my laptop and burn my phone, just looking at some of the messages that some of the guests that I've had have got. So, God bless you and more power to you for still clicking away at it. But you mentioned posing, how you have nightmares that you might eventually not remember how to pose, and that is one of the hardest things that a lot of people do not understand. For a lot of bodybuilders, that is the hardest thing for them. But what is your relationship like with posing? Was it one of those things where it took you forever to learn, or were you a natural at it? Where did you fall on posing?
Well, obviously, when I first started, it wasn't so good, and I didn't really have, like great posing help. I kind of was doing it with my coaches who were more into the nutrition and training aspect of it. And then um, as I continued doing shows, I got posing coaches. I had Nathan Epler help me for, he's a 212 bodybuilder. He helped me um, with my nationals, not last year, but before that, the one that I placed 11th place. And it got better, but it still wasn't there. And then my last show, it was Kenny Wallach who helped me, and my posing was a game changer. I mean, he is amazing, and I mean, he's one of the best. He's, in the game. So he was so nice, like really cared for me. I'll never forget that, one time I didn't even have a session with him, and I was just getting ready to eat and go to the gym. And he like just calls me on my phone and he's like, put your suit on and your shoes and just call me. And I was like, okay. And he just like I was having a hard time having my hamstrings and glutes out, even though they were there. I didn't have that connection. So we kind of been struggling with that. So I guess he thought of something that could help me, and that's why he called me. But he called me, like I said, without even having a session with him scheduled or anything, and just fixed that real quick. And it was a game changer ever then. And I appreciate him so much, So he definitely changed my posing. I don't think I have any more posing issues except just polishing it every show.
Yeah, Kenny has done probably about half or three-fourths of the guests that I've had on, and no one has had anything negative to say. But how he manages to balance all these people is beyond me too, because
Yeah, I mean, he's great.
yeah, it's ridiculous. So yeah, anyone out there, if you're looking for posing, definitely Kenny Walk. I mean, I've heard his name on this podcast probably more than any other name when it comes to any topic on this podcast. So yeah, and out of your figure poses that you do, because figure, I've always found it funny that you got your four main poses, but especially with the front lat spread, I mean, a lot of people, that's their biggest struggle. Was that something that was easier for you? Because if I were to ask like all the figure guests I've had on, that is the hardest pose by far.
For me, the hardest part was having the mind connection with my hamstrings and glutes. My back was fine, just we had to fix just bringing my chest a little higher. But other than that, it was just like those were easy fixes. It was just mostly, having that connection with because it looked like I have no glutes or hamstrings, but it was all like a posing issue. So.
Yeah, it's that mind to muscle connection is so undervalued for people that don't do this sport and they don't really just understand what that is, but it is so important. But I saw one of your latest posts where you're in your off season right now, you're in your growing season, and how has this one been different from your last? Because like you said, you've only put on like 4 pounds since your show, which for a lot of people that's incredible. I mean, I've talked to people that put on like 30 pounds within 2 weeks after their last show. So
Well, my last rebound, last like are you asking about the first national show I did? I actually gained a lot
yeah.
because after with my boyfriend at the time, we went to Vegas for 12 days, and that was a little much.
That'll do it.
So even though I tried to eat as clean as I can, we didn't train as much. I also got sick and had ear infection. I don't do good with traveling. My ears don't do good. So I got sick, even though I tried to eat clean. Didn't really work out much. I went to Dragon's Lair once there. But so basically that was it. Then I came back, started my growing phase, but also I had a plan for my coach, but also it wasn't that clean. We did like Chick-fil-A's for our cheat meal once a week and sweets. And I actually got to like 155, and right now I'm 118.46 as of this morning. Um, so basically, I didn't have the right rebound whatsoever. And my goal was going for next year is okay, I'm going to put that behind. And next time after I come out of nationals, I'm going to have the best rebound season and I'm going to do everything right. And I told my coach, I said, please tell me what I have to do. The day of the nationals, I was like, please send me my plan this weekend, because right after, like, nationals was Friday, on Monday I was already on a, meal plan. So I said, please give me a meal plan. So he said, no sweets for cheat meals, only sushi, very clean diet. I have no fat in my diet right now except chicken, which has some fat. But when it comes to like actual fats, like avocado, peanut butter, none of that. And I've been on that diet since after nationals. So I'm only like 4.6 pounds heavier, and I'm growing leaner. And my goal is to stay and grow leaner, because to be honest, I have so much more energy eating like this and being leaner than when I was like that. And I'm 5'1", which is a funny story I'm going to tell you now. Last year, not last year, I get confused because the year just finished, but in 2021 nationals and the other shows that I did, I was in class B. My height was 5'2". This year I'm shorter. I'm 5'1". So I'm like, how did I get shorter? They're like, maybe it's the squats. But the fact is that I'm actually shorter. So in 2022, when I was competing, I was all in class A's because of my but going back to what you were asking, it's just like being 5'1" or even 5'2" and weighing like 150 or heavier just wasn't good for me. Like I was just heavier, didn't feel good, almost felt depressed. My feet couldn't hold that weight. Like I had like my feet were
I was
swollen.
gonna say that's a lot of weight for 5'1".
Yeah, so I just didn't have fun at all. And going into this rebound and off season, I was very sure that I want to stay lean. I want to eat clean, and I'm just doing so much better.
How do you deal, even if you are doing a better on a prep? I mean, still a lot of people, their hardest phase of this entire lifestyle is the, post show blues. How do you deal with that mentally? Because like, even if you're doing great right now, I mean, so many people, I've heard so many stories of like, it's still hard for people. Is there anything that you try to tell yourself mentally, or anything that you try to do to make things easier on yourself mentally, at least in the post show rebound?
I think maybe in the beginning it was harder. So I don't know. Right now, it just, I'm not going to say I don't have my days. Maybe I do. Um, but I just feel like I love food too. So trust me, I'm Armenian. I always like eating. When I was younger, my mom would say, slow down on your food. Nobody's going to take it away from you. Like I just, like I, I can eat. And my mom also said, oh, no wonder you are a bodybuilder now because you love food. I'm like, mom, I really don't eat that much food right now, but okay. Anyway, so I just think the bottom line is just being sure, what your goals are, and kind of always reminding yourself, well, me eating like a donut right now, like I'm gonna feel only good for 2 seconds, and then I'm just gonna feel yucky. Like I'm just gonna be disappointed, and I'm like not going to have fun, and I'm gonna regret it. And regretting it, stressing it out, you're going to put more water in your body, or just, and that will open up the door. Now you want to eat everything else for some people. So you just kind of gotta, I would say maybe drink a Diet Coke or one of those ice drinks like sparkling water, like, or tea helps too, like tea with Splenda. So you kind of get those cravings out and you kind of move on. But it does happen that for some reason eat one thing because your, soul really needed that, and that's how you're going to feel better. I would say go and do that one time, but also don't regret it. Maybe go for a walk after for 10 minutes, or go do a little more cardio. But I think where you mess up mentally is where you sit and say, why did I do this? And be so hard on yourself, where you like regret it so much that you are like, um, I don't want to like curse. So you say, screw it. you like just eat whatever you find now, and you mentally go down. So that's how I just like look at it.
I personally use gum to try to get with my craving. It works every once in a while, but yeah, I might have my Diet Coke or something like that, especially if as I've already put on my 5 to 10 pounds of winter weight already, so I gotta try to maintain it for the next month and then slowly try to lose it all. There, it happens when you live in this cold of a climate. You got to put on some weight during the winter, otherwise, you're gonna freeze to death.
And I give so much credit to the bodybuilders or to you, to anybody who goes to the gym when it's cold, because it's not easy. That's like the hardest thing for me, to get out in the snow and
There
go.
have been times where I haven't been able to go though because the gasoline in my car is frozen solid, so the car won't
Uh,
start.
yeah, but speaking of gum, I haven't chewed gum in a year. When I was prepping, especially close to preps, I would be so addicted to gums. I would go to Target, find all the yummy sugar-free gums, and just chew it. And I was having such bad digestive issues. So I gave up gum, and for a year almost, I haven't chewed any gum, and my digestion has gotten better.
What was your go-to flavor of gum?
Uh, like any gum that Target sells that looks really delicious.
For me, it was spearmint or anything like that. Really, would be a good one for me. But we noticed on your left arm you have a tattoo on your bicep there. I love hearing tattoo stories. So what's the story behind the tattoo?
So this is this is in
Yeah.
Armenian, and the translation is called patience.
Okay.
So I had a nephew, 20-year-old nephew, who was killed, and he had this tattoo on him. He actually had it on his ribs. So me and my niece got this in honor of him and put the crown for him. And to be honest, that's the reason I've gotten this tattoo. But it started meaning so much because every time I was like, close to losing my patience or something, like I just look, I'm like, okay, like just patience. So it's a very meaningful tattoo.
That's awesome. Yeah, I love hearing tattoo stories on here because a lot of times, yeah, they are great. But the bane of my existence, I hate it more than life itself, is cardio. And when it comes to cardio, I mean, I just absolutely hate it. What is your relationship like with cardio? Is it something that you like,
I
or is
love
oh
cardio.
god,
When I last prep, my coach made me not do cardio for 4 or 5 weeks, and let me tell you, it was not good for me mentally. My cardio is like a form of meditation for me, so I get super into it. And my problem is sometimes I can't even slow down on cardio. Like I go like I'm almost like dancing. So I have to like watch my heart rate to not like go crazy. But I love cardio. Right now, I do cardio. Since after the nationals, I've been doing cardio for 30 minutes every morning fasted, and it's been really good. Unfortunately, my not unfortunately, I'm excited to start my growing phase, but I in February. But I feel like he will cut the cardio, or maybe I'll just have cardio. I don't think he'll cut it, but I think I won't have it fasted. I will have it, after post workout. So what I need to start doing to just kind of keep my routine the same, to trick my brain so I don't, like my brain knows I'm doing the same things. Maybe just go out for a walk for 10 minutes, or just still go on the treadmill for 10 minutes and just do light walks. But yeah, I love cardio.
well, hey, more power to you. I mean, when I say I hate cardio, I mean the actual running. I like walking. I can go for walks, and that's fine with
Oh,
me.
I
But
don't run.
well, good, because I know some people like a lot of times it's ex runners that I have on the podcast. Then they're just like, oh my god, yeah, I still do it that for my cardio. But yeah, for me it's just walking, and I live next to a nature park too, so I go for a walk. I can't do it obviously now during this time of year, but during the fall and the summer and the spring, I go around there and go for walks. But if someone were to walk up to you and say, we made the decision, you could change one thing about the sport of bodybuilding, and everyone would go along with it, what would be one thing that you'd like to see changed?
I don't know. I mean, I just kind of like do, like I said, my own thing when it comes to bodybuilding, not really get involved with what they need to change. I would say one thing to make the categories less confusing because what I'm seeing a lot is like figure girls winning overall in figure plus winning overall in physique, and it's kind of confusing in regards to knowing what
Yeah,
you're
if you're
looking.
big enough to win physique, you should not be winning figure. Yeah, that shouldn't be a thing.
So to me, like I don't understand that. I just would like guidelines, on like I know there are guidelines out there, but when you see like the nationals that I did in 2021, the girl who won figure overall also won the physique overall. So, and I just feel like it's kind of confusing to people to where that category stands. Well, what if I get too big then? And then, what if I'm like, okay, well, they're looking more for physique look, and then I gain too much, and then now I'm like too big for figure. So I just think a little more guidelines to what they are looking for would actually help a lot.
Absolutely. I mean, I couldn't agree with you more. There's so many times that I've seen results where they win both divisions, and it's like that should not be the case. It should be,
Yeah, I
um,
just don't get
yeah,
it, honestly. But again,
yeah, yeah.
it's not my business.
Absolutely. Yeah, unfortunately, yeah, we don't really hear the stories there. I've been trying to get a few judges on, so we'll see. Then I can ask them that. But yeah, I've always been fascinated by that myself. But we are both on the opposite sides of the spectrum when it comes to height. And I've always said the gym is not made for someone that's 6'3". The gym is also not made for someone that's 5'1". How do you adapt to that? Because for me, like, it's not that bad being 6'3". Like, if I was a little bit taller, then it might be like super hindrance. But like being 5'1", it's a lot harder to use some of the equipment. So how do you manage that?
I stand up on stuff to change stuff. I do whatever I can. I think at this point I'm already used to it, so I don't really have an issue. Sometimes when it comes to the leg pull down machines where I have to change the grips, like I'll stand up on it and like change it because I don't want to drop it on my foot or something. But that's pretty much it.
Yeah, I mean it's not so. I mean, I've had someone who's 4'10" on there, and that's a little bit of a different story than
Yeah.
where like you're got to be jumping for that lat pull down then when you're when you're standing on top of that thing. But yeah, I mean it's just so fascinating. And when we do have you on a year from now, where'd you like to be at? Because I love talking to you and you're a great guest. We're not done yet, but I just wanted to know when we do have you on a year from now, where would you like to be at in your bodybuilding journey? Where would you like to be at just in your overall life? What are some goals you'd like to have achieved a year from now?
Well, I would definitely like to be a pro. I'm hoping that in June I turn a pro. And then after I turn a pro, my pro show that I've been wanting to do Tampa Pro for the longest time. I don't know why, maybe because it's in Florida, but I also feel like it's one of the best shows out there. So my goal is to do Tampa Pro. So, hopefully I can do Tampa Pro right after this show if I'm ready, if my coach says so. I don't know yet if we need to, add more size, then, we need to add more size. But I definitely want to, for a year from now, be on that Olympia stage. I'm doing whatever I can, to be on that stage. I just want to help as many people as I can with their fitness journeys, but not also with their fitness journeys, but also with their mental, because I just feel like, fitness can be really easy if your mental state is there. So, I like to work with a lot of younger people. So, a lot of people that I help are 18, 19, 17 who are just getting on the right track. They ask me questions, and there are some crazy things that other coaches tell them, and I'm like, no, don't do that. So just kind of want to help them to not get in the wrong path. I just see there are so many, passionate kids also who are struggling with their self-esteem. So definitely want to help them with that and to show them that it's okay to be who they are, because unfortunately that was an issue for me. I was doing good when I was in my 20s, really focused, and then something just took me just like that. Again, it's because I allowed it. So I just want to be kind of that example that, don't waste your time, don't waste your life, because I could have already been a pro if I went in that direction. So, and I understand that we all have our different lessons and everything, but whoever crosses me and whoever you know, I interact with and talk to, I know that, you know, it's not just on purpose. So I just want to make sure that they're on the right track and just do and um, help them to just kind of just stay on the right track.
What's one of the biggest mistakes you see, especially young people make when they start their fitness journey, and how do they not do that? Because there's so, I mean, I could have a list roll down the screen right now of mistakes that people make when they get started. But what's probably the biggest one that you see people mistakes wise that people make when they get started working out?
Well, I just think a lot of people who start working out just feel like they only need to do cardio because, like lifting weights. Like I just training from some kids and, training clients who are younger, they see me, especially girls, not guys. Obviously, guys want to like the muscle and want to be the muscular, but girls are like, oh, like I want to lose my fat but I just don't want to do the dumbbells because I just don't want to get muscular. I'm like, girl, do you know what it takes to be muscular? Trust me, if it was this easy, like, like we work so hard to gain like 0.2 pound of muscle. Like it's not, you're not gonna gain this muscle. Like it's important for your strength training and it's important for their mental training. So and when it comes to younger guys, sometimes they're like, "Well, my friend told me to take this and that and that," and I'm like, "Oh my God, who is your friend?" And do not take that. Um, it's bodybuilding. People are allowed to whatever. It's obviously bodybuilding, but when you are young, like the most important part is to start with food, with the right exercise, with drinking water. But unfortunately, they see their friends taking stuff, and they just get and into this, thinking that they're like, well, I will never have muscle if I don't take this and that. And I'm just like, no, you will if you eat this every day. You make sure you are eating your protein. You make sure you are lifting at the gym. It just doesn't happen like that. So, and I'm happy to see that a lot of people, respect my opinion and they're like, okay, and they just decide not to do it. But whoever still decides to do it, then it's on them. But all I can do is give that advice and say, don't do that because, there are a lot of coaches. There is a lot of, none of these people are certified. Like I'm not even certified like that to give supplement help or anything. So, I just want people to just go to the right people and just do things the right way.
Absolutely. I mean, a lot of people do not understand that this is a journey. I mean, it's going to take some time. A lot of people, they just want the quick, easy fixes, and that's not how it works with working out. I mean, you got to put the time and the effort in. And I've always said that the gym is the one place where the results are how much really you invest in it. That's really the one place where the more you
The
invest.
gym and the kitchen.
Yeah, that too. Well, yeah, obviously, yeah, the kitchen even more so than the gym, which is one thing that a lot of people also do not understand as well. But I don't know if there's actually any other female bodybuilders that are Armenian. Is that something that you're very proud of, to be one of the few Armenian bodybuilders out there?
Yes, definitely. And I honestly want to go to Armenia one day soon. I've been so focused. I haven't been there and I'm not going anywhere until I reach my goals. But whenever, I reach my personal goals, I definitely want to go there and maybe do guest posing or something. They do have bodybuilding shows. It's not big like here. They just started. I do help a lot of people in Armenia too. I send them meal plans and I help them achieve their goals. So I have a lot of friends there that I've never met, but we just met through, bodybuilding. So I'm very proud. I honestly don't know if there are any other Armenian bodybuilders. I'm sure maybe if we research some, but I'm very proud to be Armenian. I love my people. Even though many of them can be very judgmental, I just feel like that's everywhere. So
Yeah. Oh, yeah. That's what I mean. I've had so many different people from different cultures on, and that's unfortunately that's the one thing that I think unites us as humans, is being judgmental. So there is that, but yeah, that is great that you send back meal plans and you help them out. And talking a little bit more about the bodybuilding community, I mean, it's such a tight knit community, and a lot of, especially on the female side, where like everyone seems to get along a lot, and the support that people have for each other is truly it's a rarity in sports but in female bodybuilding, I mean, it's a huge thing. How important is that camaraderie and that friendship to you, because it's just such a tight-knit community?
I mean, it is. Like I said, if I tell you, I know a lot of bodybuilders, but if I tell you I have a lot of close bodybuilder friends, that's just going to be a lie. Um, it's more, like I said, I stick to more when I do a show. I do the show after the prejudging. I go to my hotel room. I eat whatever I have to. Then when the finals start, I go to the show. I go on stage and then go back to the room. I like to stay home and stay inside all the time if I could. So most likely last time I went out to eat last show, but I like to order the food inside the hotel, kind of eat whatever I want to, then just the next day go. So not really, maybe on a different level when I'm a pro or something, I'll have to do things different. I'll have more friends and I'll, network more. But I'm a type of person that likes to just kind of stay myself. Um, I do know a lot of bodybuilders, but when it comes to like being close with like a group or something, I wouldn't say I have that. But I do have other supporters who support me in bodybuilding a lot, who are not necessarily bodybuilders, but they just support the sport.
Yeah, and that is awesome. It is a pretty big support system, and I mean, yeah, it's so great to have you on and to have you share your story. Is there any misconception that you think is probably the biggest one that you hear about bodybuilding that you like to debunk? Because when you mention bodybuilding, there's so many people that have so many different misconceptions about the sport, and a lot of it is just ignorance where they don't understand the sport really. But is there one that you get a lot that you just shake your head a lot and you're just like, okay, this is crazy?
Yeah, I mean, honestly, some of the like I get a lot of like I get a lot of love. Like I lately, I'm getting a lot of support from followers, strangers all over, and I'm so grateful, and I love them all. And then there are some, few ones that I get comments, and I just delete them right away. But it's mostly like, "Oh, you only look like this because you take steroids all day," or "You look like this, like let's see your back, it's probably all pimples." I'm like, there's literally, but like, or your voice is so deep, it's the steroids, or are you a transsexual? So I get those comments all the time, but honestly, I just laugh and delete and move on from my life because I just feel like if you give energy to that, you're going to get more of that versus when you just delete. Like I just delete them and wish them healing and move on with my life. Like I don't want to go back and forth, argue with somebody that I'm not a transsexual. Like I am at a level where I've been through so much in my life where you can come, like, just tell me the worst things on my face, like, and that will not affect me at all. So I'm kind of, um, that way where it just like doesn't bother me. But then I always think that there can be someone that, it hurts them and it's just not nice because many people maybe didn't go through as much as I did or didn't do the healing or, whatever the case may be or whatever. And I just feel like a lot of people just need to basically, if you don't have anything too nice to say, just don't say it. You don't have to agree with it, just don't say it.
I've always found it fascinating how people just go out of their way to go and comment on other people's stuff. It's
Right.
like you're wasting your own time doing that. I found that I found it funny at a point, but it's also sad at another point too, where you're just like,
Yeah.
you wasted your
But
own.
I will never give them my energy. Like I'll never answer back. I'll never argue because that's like me, like giving them the energy. And I don't give my energy to the haters. I don't give my energy to those people. Like I do this for the people who love it and who support it. And that's who I give my energy to.
Do you find that it's somewhat of a balancing act trying to balance, the femininity with the muscles? Because it's a hard game for so many people. And I've heard some people, that go on either extremes where it's hard to find a balance for a lot of people. And it's some people, it takes them a while to find that balance of like, how do I still maintain a look of femininity while I'm still being very muscular?
I just think it all comes from like self love again, and the confidence. Not really, it doesn't have to be in looks. The looks come from the inside. So I just feel like if you build that confidence, you are going to, be feminine too. Just standing strong in your power and not letting like those things bother you, the little things that people say, and just saying, this is my body, I love it, like this is my voice, this is that. That already builds the inside confidence that you need versus, like I don't, like that's how I
Yeah.
see the beauty comes from confidence. It's not about being cocky. It's just about knowing who you are and what you stand for. And when you are like authentically yourself, it's really hard for people to try to phase you in any way.
Well, and it's an energy too. I mean, like you could have a voice that sounds like Arnold Schwarzenegger, and if you have that type of energy,
Yeah.
it really is just about the inside too, which is another, like we said.
Yeah, like I have many people who message me say my voice sounds great, and like I don't care if it sounds great or sounds bad to you. Like it's me, and
Yeah,
I love it. Like
absolutely.
that's nice.
A lot of people still have that problem with like you're not the one dealing with. I mean, it's like you're not the person. Like it's what your opinion doesn't really matter. A lot of people just think that their opinion somehow matter to people, and I've always found that fascinating. But I mean, we cannot thank you enough for coming on and sharing your journey. I mean, it was an
Of
absolute
course,
delight to talk to you.
friend.
Is there anyone that you'd like to give a shout out to before we wrap things up?
Um, my coach, Claude. So I just want to say that I like truly appreciate him. And, like finding him was like finding my soul coach. It's so clear that me and him are meant to work together and we will just do great things together.
That's awesome. Shout out to him. I'll leave a link to her Instagram page down below. Buyer beware. You will get inspired to get off that couch and stop eating all those Twinkies. But again, I cannot thank you enough for coming on. I really, really appreciate it. And everyone, this is Ryan Johnson, DD on the spot, signing off. Have a great day, everyone.